Good evening and welcome to Lap Monkey Music Show. John, welcome back to the show, man. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. I know you've been busy. We'll catch up on all things solo and Agalloch and kind of catch up.
All
Um,
right.
about, I don't know, a year, 2 years since we've spoken. I've been enjoying your output, and you've had some more stuff I missed actually because there's so much stuff out there. And I think it's important we jump in. So in the Agalloch camp, there's been a bunch of things going on that we're gonna hop on. But let's talk about some of your current solo stuff, though. I think that's probably a good spot to start
Okay.
in your output. Let's start there. What was your last album that you've done, and like where are you at now for recording? Because it almost feels like you have a system where you're doing like you were doing just your solo stuff, and then Agalloch kind of came back to life a little bit more.
hmm
So now where are you at? Have you found a like a groove where it's like I'll do a solo album, we do Agalloch, or is it like kind of still all over the place?
Well, for me personally, my solo stuff is the precedent.
Mhm.
Because Agalloch is active, but we're just active as a sort of live band. And we're released well, Eisenwald's releasing the back catalog in these sort of deluxe packages and stuff.
Yep.
For instance, the latest one this year is the Ashes Against the Grain book and LP and cassette reissue. Next will be Marrow of the Spirit, which I'm currently working on,
Nice.
all the design stuff for that. But my latest solo full length was actually released last year in May, and that was The Devil's Coil. And it
Mhm.
completed the trilogy, the sort of Nomad trilogy that I'd been working on since 2015, I guess. Um, and so that concluded. And then I played a bunch of shows last year and I went on tour with Agalloch to Australia. And I ended up recording a live album in Sydney, which I can show you right here. And so this came out earlier this year, and
Nice.
it's a vinyl only release, limited to 100. Uh, and it's sound
Wow, that's a small number, huh?
yeah, it's a soundboard recording from the Sydney show, and it's great. And then this year, I just put this out. It's the PCC Cascade Sessions, which was a kind of a unexpected recording session that I was offered by some students at PCC Cascade in North Portland. Basically, they offered 5 hours of free recording time to help with their final project, I guess, for their.
Okay, yep.
You know. And so, yeah, I went in literally with two or three riffs, and a basic kind of outline of what I was wanting to do, and we just did it,
Hmm.
just built it from the ground up. 5 hours, like pretty much one take for every element. I started with the drums. No, actually, I started with the guitar, and then did the drums, and I did the bass, and extra stuff after that. And then I came back about 3 weeks later and sat in on their mixing session because they had another 5 hours to mix it. And it was their final project for their class.
Hmm.
And it turned out so well that I decided to release it as an EP. The track itself is 9 minutes long, but then one of the engineers did an ambient remix, so I decided to put that on the CD as a sort of hidden track. So the whole CD is about 21 minutes long.
Oh wow, okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
Well, I
so
mean,
that's
that's actually a really good deal. Did you get first get the production for that? Because when I went to college for recording, that was the thing we would do. If you
hmm
get a band in, it'd be a good demo for a band at the time. But to get a situation like you're at, because you have a teacher that's a highly professional, so it's not like you're getting, a low end production because they're teaching them. But then you're coming in as somebody who's familiar with the studio, so you can
Oh
take
yeah,
advantage of it and not be like first time in the studio. You know what I mean? Like it's just a hot mess.
right. Well, yeah, and that was kind of I think that was eye-opening for them because they told me that they hadn't worked with really many people who were
Hmm.
experienced. And it's like, I've got like 30 years experience recording, so it's
Well, that's the
like,
thing. I mean, you know what you're doing. You could because you know what sounds you want and everything. You're kind of like,
yeah.
I know what I want.
So I like literally came in with a framework. I was like, all right, let's set this up this way. Let's do this, and this. I'll play it. I need the click track set to this BPM. And it was like all business. I just walk in and it was like, and I think that's
I
how
would
we
be
were able to
surprised if
get it
that
done.
teacher calls you again next year in the future,
That would be, I mean, that'd be fun.
Because I mean, it's like a home run for them to have somebody professional come in that can do it.
Yeah, and
It
really
helps.
only
It helps the class.
yeah, the student that invited me, he's the only one of the three that who knew my stuff. Like he was an
Mhm.
Agalloch fan. And it was weird because it's like he didn't ask me outright personally. He sent out a message on Instagram saying, "Hey, if there's any musicians in town who want free recording." And so I responded, just, not even
Yeah.
thinking that I figured that they already, sorry about that. There's
Yeah.
construction right outside my door.
Okay.
Anyway, that's annoying. Anyway, so fuck, what was I talking about?
Destroyed by ambient noise, ironically.
Yeah, yeah. What's fucked up is they were supposed to do that tomorrow, and that's why I was going to have today. But
Well, I
it,
can't pick. It's not
it's
picking up. I'm not hearing it. So at least on my end, it's good.
that's cool. Let's go. Anyway, so yeah, it was, he knew my stuff, and when I responded, he was like shocked. So he was like, "Of course, yeah, I'm gonna have you come in." Yeah, I don't think they had even gotten any other responses, so it
That's
just
good. I
worked
mean, so because you're an independent, so for studio time yourself, you've got to kind of put yourself out there, and then if you have any deals or stuff, it goes right through you
out.
first. So
Yeah.
it's really helpful to kind of, as an independent artist, to still do that.
Right.
I don't
So
think people understand that, that kind of deal where you're at still, because he's like, oh, it's in a band, they have an album. I'm like, there's a lot more to that. It's not that easy.
right, right. Well, and that was the other thing. Is like, and I went in there without any intention of releasing it. I didn't know what the result was going to be. It wasn't until it was mixed I was like, wow, this is releasable. This
That
is
was a
actually
perfect storm because it could have been a hot mess.
yeah. And if it would have been a hot mess, it just would have been what it was. I wouldn't have.
Experience.
Yeah. So, or I would have taken what we did record and maybe taken it to some other studio and finished it
Yeah.
or something. But yeah, no, it worked
Was
out great.
that was that new material? I'm sorry if I missed that. Was that new material coming into it that you hadn't recorded yet? What was that about?
Yeah,
That
it was
was
just I have an archive of riffs, and there were two riffs that I just had in my archive, and I was thinking, I could probably do something with these two riffs,
Mhm.
because they were pretty simple. Like I could really, it wasn't too, complex, so it's like we could build on that, you know, pretty easily.
Right.
Um, Especially the first half of the song. It's just one riff, but it's kind of slow and dirgy, and so it's like, okay, we'll have minimal drums. The guitars will just, we'll just have like this, say two guitar tracks just doing this. And then we'll just add some like chorus and some like mellotron and some other stuff because they have a bunch of keyboards and stuff at the studio, and that was great fun too. So yeah.
What is the process, as we're talking this, of you? Because like, obviously I talked about different types of music and stuff, and it's a lot of songs have a similar structure.
Uh-huh.
But with your music and ambient music and just guitar driven, that type of style music, you Earth, like a lot of bands like that are a lot different in like how you create,
Right.
because it's not like verse, chorus, I have a melody. I mean, you may have something, but it's not the typical riffing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Where are you coming in from to start a song? Because like I wouldn't even know where to break that down.
Um,
What part?
Most of the time it starts with a design. It starts with like a graphic image. And then I'm usually inspired by that to it sets the tone, and then I kind of come up with riffs based around that. Like most of Agalloch stuff, it's all visual. Um, like I would either take a photograph, or I'd see a photograph, or I'd see a painting, and I'd be like, I get an idea in my head based on the vibe of that piece of
Mhm.
art. And and with my solo stuff, a lot of it's just like from traveling or going to certain places. Like I recorded my first album after coming back from a trip from Arizona where I went to like Monument Valley and stuff, and it was so inspiring that I wanted to put out something that evoked that that vibe,
Emotion.
Yeah.
It's funny because the big talk I've had lately is visuals inspiring or seeing music. That's what happened. I was talking to Willie John Roth the other day, and he
Hmm.
sees colors and notes and everything.
Yeah.
And so, and then when the discussion goes on for people saying who, because some people see different things and or they don't see anything. Or like you, do you see anything, or are you just inspired emotionally and it brings it a different path?
No, I see things. In fact, in the studio, Don and I, we have a very almost opposing working relationship because I'll come in and I'll be like, "Hey, I want this guitar part to sound like, a river floating.
Yeah.
And there's bits of ice in the river and it's kind of a gray day and I want this guitar part to evoke that." And Don will be like, "What key do you want that in?" It's like, he thinks in terms of like musical structure and I think in terms of like creating a soundtrack.
Right.
So so that's just how I've always been.
How do you translate though? Because some artists, and once again, it's all different again. Like they see it and they'll be like, "Oh, to me, a river or gray is the key of E, or it's down tuned to." You know what I'm saying? And like,
Yeah,
how
it's
do
very
you
subjective.
take that and spit it back out?
It's very subjective too, because like, what a song will how a song will speak to me will speak to someone else in a different way based on maybe
Hmm.
where they grew up or how they grew up or what, their perspective on life is, whatever. So it's really just a personal thing. Like for instance, The Mantle, I wanted that album to be gray, rainy, overcast, bleak. And some people don't see it that way. Some people think that The Mantle is a great summer album.
Hmm.
So, it's really just how I operate, in my creative process.
Really, the summer album or Bleak? I think it's a good wedding album myself. No, I actually, I like Agalloch in your music because I think it's always it's regardless of whether it always feels powerful to me and emotive. So to me, it's good reading music because A,
Yeah,
it doesn't confuse me with words, but it's also not just like bopping. It helps establish, especially like a history book I'm reading, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like anything I read is usually heavier. It
yeah, yeah.
helps set a tone.
Right.
It's the perfect handshake. It's also good if you're working and stuff because it sets a good tone, you know?
Yeah. I like a lot of music that kind of takes me to a different era. Um,
Right.
and a lot of times that era is the 80s for some reason. I love a lot of like 80s new wave and 80s pop music. I listen to that a lot because, I'd rather listen to a Flock of Seagulls than most black metal just because it does something for me emotionally that other music doesn't do.
You know, it's funny because I was gonna ask you this actually too, because like I talked to I don't know one artist and they're like, oh, it was like the last Taylor Swift album came out. With this album was like something with Shreds was this death metal album. And they're like, yeah, I've been playing the new Taylor Swift album a lot. And like, like Gary Holtz loves Madonna or something. Like all bands, like all the artists like heavier stuff, usually have a lot of pop music they love. And it's only the fans that love the heavy stuff that don't usually like the pop stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because like, but the artists
Yeah,
themselves are usually fans of pop music. And you'd
there
be
was
like,
a
what?
yeah, there was a Taylor Swift documentary on Netflix that I watched. And it was interesting. I was really interested in it because the way that she creates in the studio reminded me a lot of how I create. And so it's like, yeah, it's like, she's a billionaire doing this, but it's not it, but the way she works is the same as I did when I was making my first
Yeah.
album. So
No,
and
yeah,
it's
I think a lot of
fascinating.
musicians respect her. No, well, that's the thing. I mean, a lot, or just music or pop. Like I love the pop too. I love
Yeah,
all kinds of music myself. But in certain music to me is for perfect certain times. You know what I mean?
right.
And your music always fit your music, your solo music, and everything. And by the way, people over talking all the links because you got your solo music is up on Bandcamp too, and it is accessible
Yeah.
if you can't buy the special releases, albums, or stuff. Because some things economically are different for different people parts, but the Bandcamp and the downloads are affordable for everybody. You know,
Hmm.
you know. Um, and it's up there and you can sample it and hear it. It's great. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's powerful. Um, is it better for you to do Bandcamp for your solo stuff economically over in iTunes? Like where Algaloc has a nice bigger
Well,
audience. I wouldn't call them commercial because you're not gonna get sandwiched between
well,
Madonna and Taylor Swift, but you're pretty popular.
I mean, yeah, we have a cult following. I'd say we're up there in the same realm as bands like, Enslaved or, even Emperor.
Oh yeah.
In fact, when we played those shows with Emperor, our crowd response was almost better than theirs. So it's like,
Well, I could see that. That's what I'm saying. I meant like commercially, like these bands that like have a billion songs on
mm,
Spotify type of thing. I'm talking like, but you're also a working band where a lot of these bands aren't. They
well,
can't
I
tour. They can't play their instruments.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
You're still playing, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like bands like Enslaved, like they still go on tour. Bands like Opeth, they go on tour. We don't really go on tour. We just play like special shows here and there. And I think that's kind of what Emperor is doing too. So that's why I kind of
Did that
compare ourselves to them.
right? Did it change a little bit? Because I know like you guys hadn't been together at all, and then you started doing a couple dates. Did the energy change? Like, oh, we might do more dates now, and
Um,
because you already do your own solo stuff as it was and playing out, so because you didn't lose your drive.
no,
But
no.
having Agalloch come back on a good term like that
Mhm.
was quite a reward because it was one of your first things that was successful.
Well, it was the first thing that I did that was
Right, but
successful.
I'm saying, we're like,
Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah, I'm saying it's the first production. But my point is like, as far as you're reaping a lot of success from it too. You enjoy it, you love it, but it's also something you created. A lot of bands, there are some bands that create these great albums, and the bands don't go on, and they don't get to
Mhm.
see the success of influencing all these people. You know what I'm saying? You get to
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back and re-experience a cult following
yeah.
now.
I mean, it's weird. It's kind of, I feel like Rush is kind of doing that right now, with their whole, they're coming back, which I have thoughts on. But anyway, but yeah,
Oh,
it's
really?
well, I mean, Rush is my favorite band, but I have I have opinions about the thing. But it's and I think they're coming back genuinely because they want to play their music live. They
Absolutely. I
miss
think it's 100% heartfelt.
yeah. Yeah, I don't see it as a cash grab from them. I see it as a cash grab
No.
from Live Nation. But but for us it was the same thing. We just wanted to play again, and if only 200 people showed up, that's fine.
Right.
It doesn't
But I
matter.
mean, arguably so, just as devil's advocate in this one, bands like cash crap. Of course you can get paid. I mean, you're not paying your shows for break even to pay for everything, and you're just going there for nothing. Of course you're getting paid. So is that you came back for a cash grab? I'm not saying you are. Of course you do
Yeah.
it because you love it. Just some bands, if the amount of money doesn't matter, you don't want to do it. But some bands
Yeah.
do need the money more than others, and I think it's really up to the band. But I mean, I think the band like Rush just wants to do it, and they were smart because they
Yeah.
got a different drummer. I mean, technically, isn't Neil
An
like the
amazing.
second? He was like the second drummer. Isn't Neil actually the second drummer? So
Yeah.
technically, they could say he wasn't the original drummer. Teasing all the fans. I
Yeah.
love Rush. I'm glad they're back because I think they love music and they just want to play and they miss each other.
Yeah.
The
Right.
two of them
Right.
miss that language.
And they managed to
So I think it's
find
pure.
Yeah, and they managed to find a drummer that can actually fill Neil's shoes, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
but
don't
they
think
are
you have to
getting
even fill it. Yeah.
what?
I don't even think you have to fill shoes. I don't think it's fair for somebody. I think to do a good job and similarly compliment at least.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, they seem to be getting a backlash because of the whole ticket price thing, which isn't, I wouldn't say is their fault. Like half the time, I don't even know how much Agalloch shows cost because
Right.
I don't pay attention to that side of things. I just,
Hmm.
you know, um, and the thing that people have to realize is that the band gets paid last. So
Hmm.
all this money that's being, reaped from the fans, it's going to Live Nation, it's going to the crew, the
Insurance,
all of the,
every
yeah, the insurance, all the stuff, the semis to take all the stuff, the lighting rigs stuff. Because a band like Rush, they walk into basically an empty stadium, and they have to
right,
set up their own thing. Like we just go into a venue and it already has a PA and a
right,
stage and stuff. So for a band like that, it's a very different thing, and I think people don't understand fully that the band isn't the only ones reaping the profits from that. And in fact, they're the last ones to reap the profits from that.
right.
So
And at their
I
level,
wouldn't
they should.
criticize them for that.
No, I don't criticize any artist for doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the machine. I mean, people could go against the machine, but I mean, no one's breaking down the facts of you know, all the costs of a band. A lot of times the bands are getting ready. They're paying a crew to set up for a month and they're not
Yeah.
getting any money from it. There's a lot of investment, they're going into a civic center or wherever they're going into, and they got to hire the union. They have to hire all the stuff.
Mhm.
There's contract rules. They have to sign and buy all these things and certain time limits. And if they're late and all these, I mean, just so much stuff and lawyers and it's a headache.
Yeah.
And they got to learn their instruments and play right and deal with the crowds and the press. And it's just, they can't
Yeah.
worry about the money, you know?
Right.
And if you don't want to go, don't go. I mean, they have enough DVDs that you can watch them live. But if you want to celebrate them,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, they're not coming anywhere near here, but I probably want to go anyway because I've seen Rush like 7 times, and I saw them with the trilogy, or the trio.
Mhm.
Um, and I have that memory of the show in 2015, and I just want to keep it that way. That was like perfect the way that they
Yeah,
ended. And I'm curious to see how Anika does. I'll buy a DVD if they release one, but
right.
you know, yeah.
I'm hoping for home runs. I think 'cause they're still true artists. But at your level though, what are you doing as far as like your schedule now to as an artist to keep moving forward financially and creatively? Is solo and Agalloch, are you releasing, selling solo shows? Like, what are you doing to keep yourself? Because with the other guys too, they got their own schedules.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with my solo stuff, my schedule is open, I just wrapped up all the shows that I had booked for this year, and I'm working on next year now. Um,
Mhm.
in the meantime, I'm working on the Agalloch reissue designs and merchandise and all that stuff for Eisenwald, um, as well as working on new material, for my mainly my solo stuff. But I'm also writing stuff that could be Agalloch material too. We'll see.
So how does that actually balance? Like, well, not your solo didn't matter, but now that Agalloch is doing stuff, will you put some stuff aside and be like, or will you just play it yourself and be like, if it comes down to it, you'll just go into your archives, or you know
Well,
what I'm saying? Or you say, hey, I got some new stuff now. You guys want to just jam it out and see if it goes live, or we take it from there?
yeah. I mean, I Agalloch does have a new song that I wrote earlier this year and demoed and gave to the other guys. And 10 months later, I don't think they've even done anything with it. So, you know, that's we kind of move at a snail's pace.
So yeah, that just be so like obviously being solo, you do your own stuff and it's gonna be kind of frustrating. Not in a level, but I mean, when you're used to get so used to doing your own stuff at your own speed,
Hmm.
if you do want to move forward, is the rest
Oh
of the
yeah,
band also involved in their own other like side projects, or they're just
yeah,
not as
yeah,
enthralled in, you know, moving
yeah.
forward with Agalloch? Because I mean, Agaloch's in a
Base,
good spot where you guys could actually probably put out an album and probably do a little more touring, you know.
yeah, but we probably won't. I mean, if we put out another record, it's going to be a surprise because we're not going to hype it up or anything. We'll record it. We'll find a label. If Eisenwald doesn't want it, we'll find a label that does. If nothing else, we'll release it ourselves, a couple of thousand copies, and that's it. I mean, we don't have like this grand vision of the future with Agalloch, and we definitely don't have any interest in building more of a fan base because we have a pretty good cult following. So it's
Oh
like we're
yeah.
not, yeah. So we're not out to sell ourselves, is what I'm saying. We're just kind of enjoying playing music and celebrating the past. And if something comes of the future and we put out another record, great. But I, for one, don't want to deal with all of the hassle that comes with it, like the where you put out a record and then you're expected to tour this much and do
Right.
this, go door to door, and it's not for me, and it's not for the other guys either. So, I mean, it was funny is but with my solo stuff, I'm happy to do that. It's like, okay, let's put out a record, let's do as much touring as possible, but there isn't a demand for it. So, I just kind of take what I can get with that, and and I enjoy it. I enjoy my solo stuff a lot, especially playing live. So,
I think this is the fan I was asking because as fans, they want to know. I mean, you're a fan of music. If you're like, oh, it's
yeah,
gonna be another album, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is like, oh, what's the potential of or what's the
yeah.
dynamic that could change it, or the
Well,
reality of,
the funny thing is Eisenwald, Nico has told me numerous times, don't make another record. You're gonna fuck up your reputation, your legacy. And I get that. I mean, I don't want Rush to make another album. I think that they'll fuck up their reputation if they do. But if they want to do it, they should do it. If we want to do it, we'll do it. It's not up to other people, it's up to us, you know.
really? That's interesting. It would raise up your reputation.
Well, it just he's like, he's like, you've got the perfect legacy. You should just keep it intact. And it's like, yeah, so did Bathory until until he decided to make another run and fucked up his legacy. Like for me, Bathory is like Twilight of the Gods is the last album, and I don't listen to
Right.
anything after. I feel that way about about Swans. I feel that way about Fils and Nephilim. There are certain points with bands that I feel like, yes, you should stop. You have a perfect legacy. Stop now while you're ahead. And I think that that's his attitude towards us too. And it's probably a lot of people's attitudes towards bands like Agalloch that, even though Serpent wasn't everyone's favorite album either, I think people would have been happy if we ended with Ashes or ended with Marrow. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not up to other people. It's up to what we want to do. And if we want to make another album, we will. If we don't, we won't. Simple.
Mm. That's interesting. I mean, because I mean, for an artist to stop making music, you should make whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I
And
mean,
Don's and like,
legacy is silly to me.
yeah, and well, and that's the other thing is like, and Don's joke. I don't know if he's half joking or not. He's like, we should just make a synth pop album for our next album, and I'm just like, yeah, I would love to do that, but I don't think it's going to be very good idea for us.
You might want to call it a different project name because you'll be apologizing
Yeah,
for
yeah,
being like, I
exactly. You
should have
don't want
named
to.
something different.
Yeah, we're not over.
Yeah, be like from the members of. You can have the sticker on
Yeah,
there, but that's
yeah,
it. Um, I think you actually do what you want to do. I don't think the legacy is what you want it to be. I mean, it's not like you guys
yeah,
are
exactly.
95 years old and they're resurrecting you from the convalescent home to
I, I
put
think
instruments in your hands.
I think it's up to us to just put out the most quality thing that we can and be very happy with what we put out because we're the ones that have to live with it, you know. Um, so if we are to make another album, and this goes for my solo stuff too, I want to make really good records with that too. I'm
Well,
not
that's why
just
I ask you because you're very involved in it, and
yeah,
from a perspective of like okay, if you're busy here and you're hustling, you know, are the other members some just like playing live and not into creating and these are not negative things. I'm like as a fan of music, I'm like, oh, so like where's everybody at? You know what I'm saying? The mindset of the band, like because if no one else wants to create, then yeah, it's gonna be a turd. But
yeah,
if everybody's excited about creating, then
right.
it's just timing or scheduling. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. And that's the thing is like with me with Agalloch material, it comes and goes in waves. Like I'll get really excited about making some riffs or making a demo, and then I just don't want to even think about it for the next 6 months. Whereas with my solo stuff, like I've got like probably 3 or 4 albums already in mind for the future. I mean, it's like I'm constantly have new ideas for that. So you got to go where your heart is, you know.
How are you gonna get all this stuff out? Like, is there a certain point where like economically you can't get it all on vinyl or records or labels? You know what I'm saying? Is there a certain point where you'll just do everything just digital and be like,
No,
just to be
no,
caught up so you can get your stuff out?
no. In fact, this, most people would have just made that would have released that digitally, and I was like, no, I have to have a physical copy of it. It has to have a design. It has to have a package. And then Eisenwald actually released on vinyl the first 3 albums of my trilogy, or of my
Mm.
solo trilogy, um, this year, in fact. And they're like on these really beautiful deluxe LPs, with embossing and booklets and stuff. So yeah, I got some support for sure. Some people who are into what I do enough that they will want to release it, but it's going to be limited releases. Like those vinyls, the trilogy records, they're limited to 250 copies, and they probably won't get repressed. The Live in Australia, limited to 100. That's it. So I know, I understand where my project stands in the grand scheme of like commerce, I guess. So we're not going to release, he's not going to press like 10,000 copies of
Yeah,
Last Place I Remember. Um, Whereas on the flip side, the Agalloch stuff, it's like there's such a demand for the reissues that it's like he can barely keep those in print. I think we're
really.
like I think we're on the third reprint of the Mantle book. I mean, it's just and that was released last year. So, commercially, the commercial side of it is definitely one thing, and the artistic side of it is another thing. Um, in the case of Agalloch, those two bridge they come together really well, and I enjoy the fact that we can, I can design a 60-page hardcover book, and a label's going to release it and it's going to sell and it's, people are going to enjoy it. That's awesome. But
Well, money is good being creative as an artist to
yeah,
pay for
yeah,
things,
yeah,
commercial success does help,
yeah.
it allows
But
you to
it's
be more
also
creative.
but it's also artistically fulfilling as well. Because it's really disheartening to like put your soul into something and then you release it and it's just like nobody cares. And I think a lot of bands deal with that, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's finding the balance of what your level of success is, you know.
Sure. And you
Once
have
it's
to,
completed, you hand it out there, or do you have to have a certain number of people accept it before you feel accepted?
yeah. And you have to understand that. Like I've come to terms with the fact that, if I play a show where my solo set is headlining, there's probably going to be 50 people there. And that's a success to me. Those are 50 people who are into what I'm doing. That's great.
Yeah.
You know, whereas there's some bands that, 50 people show up, but they're so pissed off they cancel the show or something. And it's just like, no, no, those people are there to see you. And that's your audience. So
How much touring are you doing? Are you able to do as a solo?
I'm just doing fest. Well, this year I think I did 6 shows, 6 or 7 shows, maybe more. Um, I did a couple of festival shows and I did a couple of shows with Obsidian Tongue. Yeah, I played Northwest Terror Fest. That was one thing I did. Um, but typically what I've been doing is when Agalloch has a headlining show, I'll have my
Hmm.
solo set open and then we'll have somebody in between because that's like a guaranteed audience, and
Yeah.
it's related. There's going to be the curious people who are like, okay, what's this idiot doing, by himself with a cowboy hat on? What is this? And so there's less risk in that, than say if I were to go out and do a 20 date tour and I'm playing in front of 5 people every night or none.
No, I think that's such a really good idea to do that way. It's going to
Yeah,
help you build an audience. I mean, it's not that your music isn't that different. It's not like it's leaps and bounds. Your solo
some of
work
it
with
is.
Magalock.
I mean, I opened for Agalloch in Portland at Revolution Hall back in August, and it was great. It's really wonderful, as since my solo stuff is such a multimedia project with I've got video projections and props and all kinds of stuff. To do that on a big stage really helps, and it really, especially with the big sound and you got the big projections, it's like it makes it more impressive looking than maybe it is. And so I put together a special set for that show, and I even had like a special like pre-roll video that I did before I went on with old-timey ads and stuff to set the mood. And so that it affords me more opportunities, especially playing bigger venues and with bigger sound systems and video projections and stuff, than say playing a small like sports bar somewhere,
Right.
would. So so yeah, for that reason, yeah, it's a great idea to latch on to the Agalloch shows.
Well, I can see you doing a lot. Even the bands that you like, other bands are. I can do festivals. I think any of the big bands do festivals like that that have any kind of music you do well. Like rock and metal. I'm saying.
Mhm.
And I'm saying obviously you're a fan of you, Agalloch is it's not a far jump for me to hear the two. I'm saying for me at least
Yeah.
sonically. Um, but yeah, I could see you doing really well, like one of those summer Europe things. Go all the festivals they have there.
Yeah. I've,
Okay, if you just even early in the build, people are wandering around, they're like, "What's that?" Because that is the audience that's open. Yeah, sports bar coming in, they'd be like, "What?" It wouldn't even be your audience. First off,
I
I
mean,
think
yeah.
they would just be confusing for everybody.
Or just
You
like little tiny venues. Like I've played a lot of really small little local venues that aren't necessarily
Mhm.
sports bars, but they're just small venues, where the max capacity is like 100, type of thing. And I mean, it's fun. It's intimate. I like that, but it's also it like it's harder to get, so not all of them have projections like option.
Yeah,
So I have to bring my own stuff and haphazardly set it up, and it's not as fun as like walking into like some historic huge venue and it's like there's a massive screen and there's all this stuff and it's like the big sound system and you know it's great. And then I play my weird, like, 1800s era experimental music in that environment. It's actually
It
really
fits.
great. Yeah. Um,
I mean,
and like at that Agalloch show, you know, uh, there's moments in that set where, I'm doing this, like, these beautiful, like, EBO layers over, like, piano, and then it just goes into this, like intense, like, noise part. And it's just like, that you have this huge PA, that it's just, it sounds like thunder, to that audience, because it's like huge and it's just massive noise. And then I dial it back to the piano and EBO stuff. So it's like, there's something more, you can make it more intense for the audience. That's, I guess.
no, I agree. I actually think it would be really hard to do because you're not a walk-in band. You're not like someone's going to go to the bar. We'll see who's playing down. Oh, John's playing there. He's in some
Right.
band. I go something or other. And you go in there.
Right.
You're not the walk-in off the band. I know that you're gonna know that song. You're definitely like an event type of niche
Yeah,
thing,
I think so. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
and it's a good thing because clearly you're putting the time and effort. I mean, it's just the sell is hard. Is much more finite because you're not doing
Right.
cover songs. You're not doing
Yeah.
commercial pop. You've put more time into it, and you gotta get the audience is going to come in and do that. So you want to
Yeah.
see music that's original and a production and thought out.
Well, yeah, and every once in a while you'll get those people who will just, they'll show up to maybe see the band that I'm opening for, and then they end up really liking what I do. And like, I played a show in Olympia, Washington, a few weeks ago with Obsidian Tongue. And this after my set, I went for a walk, and this guy was like, "Hey, I really liked your stuff. It really put me in another time. It's like I felt like I was in the 1800s. And it was really cool." And I was like, "That guy gets it. That's success. That's success. Like like that guy totally getting what I'm doing has made it totally worth it. You know."
With the releases and you doing stuff now. So how are you going to be doing it? I mean, because like if you're limited to playing gigs because of support and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and putting out, you're very particular about what music you put out. You don't want to just put it out all it out because you have a lot of music though.
Yeah.
So the challenge as an artist is how are you going to consistently keep up with more music out for the fans, or like you know what I'm saying? Because I know some bands have like I'm going to put a new song out every year, or I'm only doing this. Are you saying every time I got 4 or 5 songs or 30 minutes, I'm going to put something out and then I'll create or what?
No, my trajectory is more of, I have a like I've already started working on my fourth solo album. But it's probably not going to come out until like 2027, because there's a lot I want to do with it. And I have it kind of, I have a framework already kind of worked out already. And it's going to be very, very time consuming. And to record that, it's going to take a lot of effort and stuff. So no, it's not so much about like, oh, I have 5 songs, so I'm going to go and record it. It's more of a, when this grand vision is done, then I'll put it out. So.
So that's really interesting. It's the fact you have such a big vision of something you haven't even recorded or written most of it, or you've written probably some of it, but not a lot of it, to
Mhm.
know more stuff you want. Is it just because there's certain instruments you want to do, lengths, concepts, or sounds that you have scraps of that you want to put together? Like, what is it that's the big production of it for you? Or is it all that?
A lot of it's actually, I need to buy some equipment just for it. There's some people I want to work with the next album. I actually want to expand it to where, I'm sort of the conductor, and
Hmm.
I'm like working with a violinist and a cellist and a guy playing a trombone and a trumpet and percussion, and like, I actually might
Yeah,
have Hunter from Agalloch play some drums on the next one. It's going to be a bit more of a collaborative thing, but it's still a solo release.
right. Well, it's your stuff.
And then, so yeah, so that takes some organizing, because people's
No, I,
schedules.
I get it. I only ask it because it's very interesting because everything you do is so different than normal songwriters. So to
Mm,
me, I'm like, what are you thinking for a production that would make you like? To me, I'm like, I'm
yeah.
very curious. Like, 'cause it's not like we got to write the
Well, no,
songs, we have to do pre-production, we have to get the managers.
yeah.
For you, it's totally different.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, I need to look into, maybe, think about what studio I want to use, because I actually want to go into a studio and record the bulk of it.
Mhm.
So I got to figure out who I'm going to record with because Tad doesn't do recording anymore. I thought about maybe going over to Germany and recording with Marcus Stock from Imperium because he has a really nice studio and I recorded drums for my last album there. I don't
Mhm.
know. It's a lot of, I think I'm going to write the material and then figure out, how to put it together after that. I have 2 songs written for it already,
Okay.
but I'm
I'm
going
just
to
interested.
probably,
That's what they,
but the idea is I'm actually writing 18 songs for this next album.
wow.
Yeah.
Concept or storyline? Do you have an idea?
Yeah. It's a total concept. And some songs are
But
going to be
it'll,
like 30 seconds long. Some songs are going to be 6 minutes long. So it's like, it's that kind of thing.
is this gonna be part of a trilogy or just a concept
No,
solid
it's its own concept. Yeah. It's because now that I'm done with the initial trilogy, I can kind of go off and do other things.
different stories?
Yeah.
What, so what are you doing like for reading and stuff that inspires you? Is it just art you're seeing? Are there certain books you're reading? Time
I'm a
period
hu-
stuff?
I'm a huge Cormac McCarthy fan.
Yeah.
And a lot of his work has inspired my lyrics. It's inspired my solo stuff. Just kind of just every solo album that I have has a quote from him. That's kind of part
Okay.
of the concept. Just because his writing is so visceral. I love it. It
Mhm.
just really speaks to me on a core level. Um, so yeah, that's probably the one that inspires me the most. Um, yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, everyone finds inspiration differently, and some people are like, I can't write ever, or I can't. But I imagine you probably are never out of ideas, or you're just like, it's just about going. How about you're going to do it when you have time to do something for you?
There's a poet, what's his name? Fernando Pessoa. He's another one that the way that he writes, it really strikes a chord, like in a visceral way. Um,
Mhm.
so he's another one that I like. I'll read his poetry, and it's just like, oh, God, I wish I could write like this. You know? Yeah.
Are you writing like in a normal day for you? Are you doing some art? Are you writing every day? Do you practice a little bit? Like, what is your creative process? Just or just as you as a musician at this point?
Uh, I I design every day. I'm always obviously working as a designer, and so that I always come up with ideas or different possibilities for other ideas, and oftentimes like I'll come up with a design, and it's like I'll think, well, shit, I need to make a record to go with this design. So it's like that kind of thing.
It
And
feels
that,
backwards for a lot of people. A lot of bands are the
yeah,
other way around. What are we gonna do
yeah,
for
yeah,
cover? I don't know.
yeah. Usually the artwork, I oftentimes, like, especially with Agalloch, I have the complete design almost finished before the album's even recorded. It's like I work backwards.
That is crazy. Are you playing guitar every day though, or an instrument every day? You doing something?
I haven't played guitar in a few weeks. I'm kind of I've been working with other instruments though. I got an electric kalimba recently that I was actually this morning. I was down at my rehearsal space, and I plugged it into my rig, and I was doing some loops and stuff with it. So maybe I'll put that on the next record. I don't know.
I was just curious because some artists play like they're like every day they get up and they just play, or they, you know what I mean? And some artists are like, I don't play until I get ready for tour again or for the album. I put the guitar away. I just don't touch it. So once again, it's just another step in how an artist goes about their, the
Yeah,
process.
I'm kind of I once again, it's like for me, it's I'll just get a wild hair up my ass to play guitar, but then I won't for like a month. It's like all my guitars are in their cases, just sitting there since the last time I played a show. So
Wow.
I'll get them out eventually, but I'm just kind of taking a break from that right now.
Are you ever creating for other people,
Not really.
artwork or whatever?
Oh yeah, of course
Or, yeah,
I do
yeah.
design for other people. But like I've done guest work with like vocals
Mhm.
for other recordings. Um, I think that's about it. I don't recall. Oh no, I did some guitar work for an Austrian band a while.
So are you open if artists are interested, if people listening want to reach out to you?
Uh,
Or you kind of maybe not so much now?
not music so much. Like I don't want to open that door because I've had a lot of people ask me and I've turned them
Mhm.
down. Um,
Well, it's weird because then your name's on it, and then they affiliate the weight of your band or your other stuff
yeah.
with everything this band does forever. And if the band does something wrong, not even bad sound wise, you're kind of tied to that now because you're a news clipping.
Well, and here's the thing is like I'm more of the kind of person that like would prefer another sort of experimental artist who's got their thing, like say they're this like experimental violinist. If they want to do a collaboration with me, that's the type of stuff that I'm more interested in rather than just doing a
Hmm.
guest spot for a band doing vocals or whatever. Um, yeah, I'm much more into creating a piece of work with someone else who's got their own vision and putting our visions together and seeing what we can come up with, much like I did with Matthias Grissau or Sudik Hexen, you know, Daniel Menchie. You know, I've worked with those people, and yeah, it's like you have these two people with kind of similar mindsets and visual ideas, and it just kind of put it together and see what you can come up with.
That's pretty cool. So is that something people can reach out to you about if they're interested in artwork and creative, that kind of stuff? Or
Well, I mean, design. Yeah, I'm open
yeah,
for
design.
design work, sure.
Yeah.
But musically, my schedule is pretty packed right now. I'm actually working on a project with Kevin Ganwen from Sudakexen, and hopefully that will come out next year. I don't know, but that's going to have a lot of modular synthesizers and stuff on it. So
Okay. Well, I just wanted to direct people if you do have work that you'll do for other people. It's always good to, you
yeah,
know,
I'm always
to
open to do
do it.
design stuff, but as far as like
Okay. That's
guesting on their record,
yeah.
not so much.
No, that's fine. You want to save your energy for other stuff. So obviously yeah, it's October now. So you're done for the year. Any plans for like next year? Like, so do you like, is it you're just up in the air right now as far as definitive with anything with Agalloch, with your solo touring, or this other band now?
Well, we're in an interesting situation where we have zero shows booked right now. We're like nothing. So the sky's open. We could choose to not do anything next year. Um, but I'm sure we will. We're you know we've got a few things in the on the table that we're looking at. Uh, we're talking about trying to go back to New York City and
Hmm.
play there again, and maybe Chicago. And I'd like to play the Caves in Tennessee.
Yep.
Um, that's about it for America that we're kind of looking into right now. And then we've got some offers over in Europe from next year that we're kind of we're kind of looking at right now. We may do it or we might not. But and in my solo stuff, I'm gonna there's a festival in Washington State that I'm gonna be playing next year. Um, aside from that, like if Agalloch plays New York and Chicago or Tennessee, I want to have my solo stuff open for that.
Hmm.
Once again, nothing's booked, so it's just discussions and you know trying to
Well,
see
it's
who would
out
be
it's
available
out
for it.
there.
Yeah.
Hmm. Where should the fans go to keep up on all this stuff? Like, what's the best up to date spot that? Because not every resource is up to date for some bands. Some bands just like are ghost towns for their sites, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean Instagram, our bass player operates our Instagram and Facebook pages, even though I mean I don't who goes to Facebook anymore. Uh but yeah, that's where our news is. We don't
Okay.
have like a website or anything, but
For a lot
I'm
of bands, it's
really,
not
that's a
necessary.
project that I'm working on also is I'm trying to put together a new John Haughm website that maybe I can you know have like a store and stuff included, you know, so I don't have to rely on Bandcamp so much. But
It'd be
yeah,
nice to be able to break free and be
yeah,
100% you and not
yeah,
share. I mean, they're better for artists, but it'd still be better if you're just all you,
yeah. But
you know.
you know, there's you know we got a lot of things in the fire.
It's excellent. Thank you. Oh man, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm gonna put the links you shared with me too. You got anything else, let me know underneath
Okay,
the podcast and up on the YouTube world. And I'm excited to check this stuff out. I dug this stuff though. want to thank you for being on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.